Hello and welcome to Win Without Law School. I am Arizona lawyer Julia Labenz. Thank you so much for joining me. On today's video series, we are going to talk about initiating your case if you have a divorce or legal separation case. We will also talk about responding to the petition for divorce or legal separation. So this video series will apply to the petitioner who is filing for divorce, as well as the responding party who's been served with the documents and needs to do a response. So we will cover both of those aspects of case initiation here in this video series. Okay, just to our next slide. So we're going to start here with explaining case initiation, how to file a petition for dissolution or for legal separation. We're going to focus on non-covenant marriage with and without children. So we're going to talk about both cases with or without children. Then I'll talk about serving the papers, what your options are for service of process and how to complete service of process pursuant to the rules of procedure. Then we'll get into how to respond to the petition. And this again will be for a case with or without children. We'll cover both types of responses. In step 4, we'll look at what happens after a response is filed. And then in step 5, we'll look at how to pursue a default decree. And that would be if no response to the petition was filed and you were looking to resolve the case through a default decree. So we'll talk about that as well. First, let's talk about some introductory questions that you might have. So one question is, what's the difference between a divorce and a legal separation? The procedure is the same. So whether you're getting divorced or legally separated, you're still going to divide your property, determine spousal maintenance, and then also determine issues related to minor children if your divorce or legal separation involved minor children. So the procedure is the same in that the issues related to dissolving your relationship or getting legally separated, those all get resolved. So you actually divide your property. Spousal maintenance can be awarded if spousal maintenance is going to be awarded. And then all the issues related to children are also decided. So legal decision-making, parenting time, and child support. And you get an actual decree to that effect, whether you're dissolving your marriage or getting legally separated. One big difference is that if you get legally separated and you later want to get remarried, you have to go back to court and get divorced. So you're still married, you're just legally separated. And if you later want to get remarried, you have to go back and get divorced. So that's something to keep in mind in trying to decide between the two. Now, most often, spouses utilize a legal separation instead of a divorce for financial reasons, such as the continuation of healthcare coverage and/or pension benefits. So sometimes, especially with a long marriage, one spouse maybe has worked for an institution and they receive really great healthcare coverage and pension benefits. And according to the terms of their employment, if they are legally separated, their spouse can receive those same benefits as if they were still married. But if they get divorced, things are different. And so often there's some sort of financial motivation for getting legally separated versus divorced. However, there could just be theoretically, look, I want to do a legal separation instead of a divorce. It can be a theoretical issue, but generally there's some sort of financial reason. And unless you have a good financial reason for doing it, or some other reason, getting divorced makes more sense, because maybe you are like, I never want to get remarried, but if your spouse decides they want to get remarried, you have to get divorced. You have to do a whole nother legal proceeding, which may not be that involved, but it's still another legal proceeding. So something to keep in mind in deciding which one you want to pursue. Also, what is a covenant marriage, and what happens if you have a covenant marriage? Well, a covenant marriage is a religious type of marriage that entails a special marriage ceremony in which you and your spouse promise to God that you will never get divorced. it's not very common. Like I said, there's usually some religious element to it. And if you have a covenant marriage, just like to create it, there's a special ceremony to create it. There's an entirely separate procedure under the law to dissolve a covenant marriage. So if you have a covenant marriage, then you need to follow the rules and procedures for dissolving a covenant marriage. And if you have a covenant marriage, then this lecture is not going to apply to your situation because it's a whole separate set of rules and laws. So this particular presentation is about dissolving a non-covenant marriage. All right, let's get into step one. So let's talk about filing a petition for dissolution or legal separation of non-covenant marriage with or without children. Here are the forms that you're going to need to draft an e-file in order to initiate your case. And these are going to be the forms if you're filing without minor children. All right, so if children were born of your marriage, but they've graduated high school and or they're over 18, whichever, so they've graduated high school, or if they turn 18 after they graduate high school, that's when it would start. If they turn 18 while they're in high school, then it's at the time they graduate. That's when you no longer need parenting time or child support for a child. They would not be deemed a minor child anymore. So this is for cases where there are no minor children at the time of the divorce. So form number one is the cover sheet and confidential information form. So I'm going to show you what that looks like in Maricopa County, as well as in Yavapai County. And I've used Yavapai County because I practice law there, so I'm familiar with it, but also because it's very similar to what the forms look like in other rural counties. So I'm using that as an example, so that if you're in a rural county, this might be something that you would see versus being in Maricopa County or Pima County, where their forms look more similar. Okay, so there's your initial confidential form, your cover sheet. There's a summons, it's a standard form, a preliminary injunction, the notice of rights about health insurance, notice to creditors, and your petition for dissolution or legal separation of non-covenant marriage without minor children. We are going to go through these forms, so I will explain each of them in the slides that are coming up. But for now, just know that you need to draft and e-file these 6 forms to initiate a divorce without minor children. Now, if you have children, you're going to have all the same initial 5 forms. You're also going to have your petition as your 6th form, but this is going to be the petition with minor children. And then you're going to have these additional forms, your affidavit regarding minor children, your order and notice to attend parent information program, your parenting plan proposal, and your child support worksheet. So we will go through all of these forms as well. All right, let's take a look at the sensitive data cover sheet, also known as the confidential sensitive data form. If you are going to be e-filing a response to the petition, then you're also going to draft and e-file this form. So here's what the Maricopa County form looks like. You can see that this is the one without children, and you just fill this form out the best you can. Here is the Maricopa County form, but this is the form with children. So for a divorce with minor children, you would use this form. For a divorce without minor children, you would use the first form we looked at. All right, and then this is what the form looks like in Yavapai County. Now, this first page does not get filed, and it explains to you what sensitive data is. It's a social security number, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, or other financial account numbers, as well as driver's license numbers. And then this is what the confidential sensitive data form looks like in Yavapai County. And then this is the court cover sheet that Yavapai County has you do as well. So there may be a court cover sheet for your county as well. So just go on your court's website or contact the clerk's office and see if there's a cover sheet for a divorce or legal separation case that you're going to need to complete. All right, now let's look at the summons. This is a standard form. You can see this is the Maricopa County form. It's the summons. You're just going to fill in this information at the top, and then you would be party A. The responding party who you're going to be serving with the papers, your husband or wife, that's going to be party B. You don't have a case number yet, so you can leave that blank. And then your opposing party, you'd fill in their name there. And then this summons is explaining that they have 20 days to file a response if they're served in Arizona, and they have 30 days to file a response if they were served outside of Arizona. You don't need to fill in this part. Upon the filing of these papers, the clerk of court will date and sign this part. So all you need to do is fill out the caption and the name of the opposing party, and the court will fill out the rest. Okay. All right. Here is the preliminary injunction form. So again, you'll fill out the top. You're going to fill out the name of party A, the name of party B. You won't have a case number yet, so you can leave that blank. The court will fill that in upon filing. And here's the preliminary injunction. So this is a court order to both parties. It's effective upon the petitioner upon the filing for divorce or legal separation, and it's effective upon the respondent upon service of the papers on the respondent. And so it lists out certain actions that are forbidden by this order. So it tells both parties you cannot hide earnings or community property from your spouse, and you may not take out a loan on the community property. You may not sell community property or give it away unless you have the written permission of your spouse or written permission from the court. Now there's an exception. You can give property away or sell it if you're running a business, and that's part of the everyday part of running a business, or if the sale of the property is necessary to meet the necessities of life, such as food, shelter, or clothing, or court fees and attorney's fees associated with this action. You cannot harass or bother your spouse or the minor children subject to the case. You cannot physically abuse or threaten your spouse or the minor children. You cannot take the minor children out of the state of Arizona for any reason without a written agreement between you and your spouse or court order before you take them out of the state. And you cannot remove or cause to be removed the other party or the minor children from any existing insurance coverage. That's medical, hospital, dental, automobile, and disability insurance. So both parties shall maintain all insurance coverage in full force and effect. And then this is kind of repeating these steps here. There are these orders, they're summarized up here, and here's some more detail about them. And so some final information here. The clerk is going to fill out this part. You can fill out this part about the description of the parties. The clerk will fill this out, and that completes the preliminary injunction form. Okay, now let's look at the notice of rights about health insurance form. So this is a standard form. All you'll need to fill out is party A and party B, and that's it. This form is explaining that while the divorce is pending, you have to continue any health insurance coverage that's in place for your spouse and any minor children that are subject to the divorce. So just read through this form and make sure you understand it. Then we have the notice regarding creditors. You'll fill out this top part, fill out the names of the parties. That's all you'll need to fill out on this form. Now, this is explaining that you and your spouse are responsible for community debts. During the divorce or legal separation, you may reach an agreement or the court may make orders about who's responsible for certain marital debts. Keep in mind that that's an order between the parties and the court, but that the creditors don't have to follow that order. These debts that are marital debts were taken out by the two spouses during the marriage, and they entered into a contractual agreement with the creditor at the time they took out the debt. And that is the contractual agreement that applies. So if the spouses later get divorced and their divorce decree assigns the debt to one spouse, the creditor could still go after both for non-payment. It's just if that were to happen, the spouse that was not assigned the debt could ask the divorce court to enforce the order and have the other side compensate them for any damages they incurred through the non-payment. But one of the spouses is not going to be able to say to the creditor, hey, look, but we agreed to this in our divorce decree. The creditor is not bound to the terms of the divorce decree. So that's essentially what this notice is letting you know. Also, this is letting you know that during the divorce, you can contact the creditors and ask them to produce a credit report or information about the debt so that you can have that information and use it in divorce. And here's a form you can use to request account information from creditors. So this page does not get filed with the court, but you serve this on the other side when you serve the papers, and you can use this form if you'd like to request debt information, if that's something that, that you need in order to divide debts in your case. All right, now let's look at the petition for dissolution of legal separation of non-covenant marriage. And we're going to look at both the petition with children and without. So I've set these forms up side by side. You'll see on the left side, we have the form for a dissolution of marriage without minor children. And here on the right side, we have the form for dissolution of marriage with minor children. Now, if you are wanting a legal separation instead, get the form for legal separation, but it's going to be very similar to this form. So going over this form and hearing this part of the video will help you even if you're using the legal separation form. All right, so first you're going to fill out your caption, your contact information, the name of the parties, and then start filling out the pleading. So information about you, information about your spouse. This is essentially the same on these two pages. So fill that out. Next, we're on page 2 of the petition without children and then the petition with children. And you'll see we're tracking pretty close now. The paragraph 3s are the same: information about your marriage, venue, the 90-day requirement. At least one spouse has to have lived in Arizona for 90 days prior to filing for Arizona to have jurisdiction. And then things start to get a little different here. So here on the petition without minor children, it starts getting into community property. But here in the petition with children, it's getting into issues about the children. So for those of you without minor children, you'll start getting into the property, and I'm going to talk about that more in a couple of slides. For those of you with children, you're going to indicate whether or not significant domestic violence has or has not occurred. So keep in mind this significant word here. So it's not just any domestic violence, it has to be significant. And that is defined, so you can look that up in the statute. Also, you're going to start by listing out the children. So here, this is page 3 of the petition with children. Fill out information about all the minor children who are subject to the divorce. Indicate whether there's a current pregnancy or any issues with paternity. And then on page 4 for the petition with minor children, just finish out this information about the children. And now you're getting into the community property. So we're going to meet back up with the petition with without minor children, and we'll meet up with that on the next page. But here is community property. So there's 2 choices here. Either A, there is no community property, you didn't acquire any during your marriage, or there is, and this is how I want it divided. So first select between those boxes. And then if you have real estate that was acquired during the marriage, you're going to check this box, indicate the address, the legal description. All right, now the legal description is on the deed, and it can be quite long. It might not fit here. You may have to attach a document with it. And you're going to indicate who you want to be awarded the property, what you estimate the current value is. If you want it to be sold and the proceeds split, you could write that in here as well. If you have more than one parcel of real estate that was acquired during the marriage, you'd fill out that same information for the second parcel of real estate here. Okay, So now we've got the petition without minor children on the left, the petition with minor children on the right. And we're in this section about division of community property. So here is where you can list household furniture and appliances, what the property is, how you want it divided, what you estimate the current value is. Household furnishings, same thing, other items, pension, retirement, fund, profit sharing, stock plan, 401k. So you'll just fill in this information as it applies in your case. And then motor vehicles, indicate the information about motor vehicles. If you have more than 2 motor vehicles that you acquired during your marriage, you could indicate down here, see attachment for additional motor vehicles and list out the same information. Separate property, so read through here, check the box that applies in your case. Community debts, indicate what applies in your case, describe the debts, how you want them divided. Any separate debts, describe those. Tax returns, indicate what you want to happen with tax returns. Spousal maintenance, you're either going to select neither party's entitled or one party is, and then indicate the grounds why they qualify. And then here's just some final information about pregnancy. Here, this gets into, do you have a written agreement? If so, you can attach a copy. And then other information to the court. And this gets into child-related issues, so domestic violence, alcohol, drug convictions, child support. And then we're back to the petition without minor children here on the left, and this is indicating whether you have any written agreements, those could be attached. And then your request to the court, so dissolve your marriage. If you want your maiden name restored, you can fill out subsection B. Spousal maintenance, if you're requesting spousal maintenance, you can fill out that part. Community property, what you want the court to do with community property. You'll see we have the request to the court starting here on the right in the petition with minor children. So this is the next page in the petition with minor children. Paternity issues, primary residence and parenting time. So fill all these out. Legal decision-making, child support, medical insurance for the minor children, tax exemption, and then here is the spousal maintenance request. Requests regarding community debts, separate property, any other orders you're requesting that haven't been listed already. And then when you have that all completed, you're going to date and sign either before a notary or a court clerk. But you do need to get this notarized to use this form. And that completes the petition. So just as a reminder, if you are filing for divorce without minor children, you're going to have the 6 forms: the cover sheet, sensitive data form, the summons, the preliminary injunction, the notice of rights about health insurance, the notice to creditors, and your petition for dissolution without minor children. Now let's look at the additional forms you need to file if you have a case with minor children. So first there's the affidavit of minor children. So this form helps the court determine that Arizona has jurisdiction over your kids. So you'll just fill this out to provide this information. It's a 3-page document. Sign it before a notary or a court clerk, and then you can file that with the court. And then here's the order and notice to attend parent information program. This is going to apply to cases with minor children. So you'll just fill out the caption here, the names of the parties, and what type of case you have. And then this is an order to both parties to complete the parenting class. So just read this. If you're not in Maricopa County, you need to get the order for your county, because they'll have specific information about how to sign up for the class in your county. Okay, and then here's your parenting time proposal. So again, this is for cases with minor children. And if you're e-filing a response to the petition and your case involves minor children, then you're also going to draft and e-file a parenting time proposal. So this is a parenting plan. You're going to have what kind of decision-making you're asking for, joint or sole. Indicate that there, fill out the caption, and then just start filling this out. The minor children subject to the divorce, what type of legal decision-making you're requesting. This is where you can take the case strategy you created in the first couple videos and just fill this out according to your case strategy. So if in your case strategy, you decided you wanted to request joint legal decision-making, then you would check this fourth box here. And then this is getting into parenting time. So you can fill this out, or if you've drafted a separate parenting time proposal, you can say see attached proposal and attach it. So just fill out your requested schedule. Indicate what you want as far as legal decision-making for educational arrangements, medical and dental arrangements, religious education arrangements, and then additional arrangements and comments. So read through those, check the boxes for everything that you want in your final decree. And then if you could present this parenting plan to your spouse, and if they're in agreement, you guys could both sign it. If they're not in agreement, then just you, if you're party A, would sign. And then if you're responding and filling out this document, you as party B, date and sign. So under Arizona law, if you're going to bring your child around a convicted sex offender, you have to notify the other parent. And so this is where you sign just saying, I understand that this is a requirement and abide by it. Okay, so we are in part 4. If you are requesting joint legal decision-making, then you'll need to fill this part out about whether or not there's been domestic violence, whether or not there's been DUI or drug convictions in the past 12 months. And then for joint legal decision-making, how often do you want to meet with your co-parent to review your parenting plan and see if you want to make changes? You put that amount of time here. 24 months is pretty standard. And then if you guys are in agreement, both would sign. Otherwise, you can just sign on your own. All right, and then you'll also need to prepare and file your proposed child support worksheet. And you'll also need to do this if you're responding to the petition. So go back to our child support videos, that's in the case strategy creation section. And there's directions on how to complete a child support worksheet. This is a blank one. So you'll need to fill this out and it'll have the proposed amount of child support at the bottom. Okay, so just as a reminder, these are the forms to draft an e-file to file for divorce or legal separation with minor children. So you've got the cover sheet, the confidential sensitive data form, the summons, preliminary injunction, notice of rights about health insurance, notice regarding creditors, the petition with minor children, the affidavit regarding minor children, the order and notice to attend parent information class, your parenting plan proposal, and your proposed child support worksheet. All right, so 10 forms you'll need to draft and prepare and then file to initiate your case. Okay, so that brings us to the end of video 1. Let me just stop this video and then we'll resume and we'll talk about how to serve the papers after you file them.